How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Little bit of a win yesterday, got back in the column, and today we're trying to close it out before the All-Star break, and we're getting a first-class view at Cody Bellinger, who's been linked to the Yankees nonstop over the past couple of months, and usually where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire. Cody Bellinger, his father played for the Yankees, I think won a World Series with the Yankees. They have a heavy connection to the organization, and I think objectively, he would want to play here, and he would be a player that wants to perform well donning the pinstripes. So it's definitely a player we want to talk about today, a prospective trade, a mock trade, a couple guys that Ryan has conjured up that could make sense in an exchange for Bellinger, who's really in the final year of his contract, 1 year, I think $17.5 million. So you kind of have to ask the Cubs to take on the majority, if not all of that salary. And then there's a mutual option for the 2024 season that will probably turn into an extension. He's playing well right now. We're going to take a look at his numbers, where he's kind of impressing and what he would bring to a Yankee offense if they did go in this direction. He's one of the guys that is expected to be available. I'm pretty sure the Cubs are 8 games back from the Reds in the NL Central. So you're kind of looking at a team that is far away from actually making it back to, a playoff spot. Like, they're probably going to be sellers at the deadline, and Bellinger as a rental piece, they can definitely get some nice prospects to retool that can probably compete in 2024, if not 2025, Ryan. So before we dive into to Cody Bellinger, what he would offer the Yankees and what would we be willing to give up for him, how do you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. As you kind of mentioned there, Cody Bellinger, there's a lot of connections there on the broadcast. Paul O'Neill in the first game of that series that we'd all like to forget. He mentioned how like his son and Cody Bellinger, when he was a kid, they'd play together and wherever the kids played in that clubhouse. So, there's definitely a lot of strong connections there. Cody Bellinger actually talked about, kind of the idea of playing for the Yankees a couple days ago. I believe Willie Calhoun also had a comment where he said that Cody Bellinger would fit the Yankees really well, which is like, Willie Calhoun coming out and saying that, like, we haven't seen him in a couple of weeks. So that's a little funny. But end of the day, I think the fit here is excellent, right? In terms of quality of contact numbers, like, people are going to look at that Savant page and they're going to get grossed out. He's not really good in terms of exit velocity, barrel rates, expected weighted on base average, expected slugging numbers, expected batting average. All those numbers are not good. And I understand the concern there. But here are the two things that I think are really important for us to realize with expected metrics. Number one, they don't take into account the direction of a batted ball. So if you hit a barrel, right, on paper, that's a really well-struck batted ball. But if I hit it to the left fielder as a left-handed hitter, that ball's going to travel less because of the way that the ball reacts to, being pulled versus being hit the other way, just based on spin direction, stuff like that. It's a lot easier to generate force and generate distance and loft on batted balls that are pulled. So if you hit a fly ball and you pull it, if you hit a barrel and you pull it, you're going to get better results. Cody Bellinger pulls 33.3% of his fly balls, which is well above that major league average. In terms of his barrel rate, I believe a third of his barrels have only a third of his barrels aren't pulled. So that means 66% of his barrels are pulled. That's excellent. A great example of this would be that home run he hit against Rodon 2 days ago, where that ball was torched. That ball was, that was a no doubt home run, but on paper, that ball is hit 104.8 miles per hour, which is hard hit, but it isn't Stanton level. And it only went 410 feet, which again, good distance, but it isn't like mind blowing. But when you pull that batted ball, right, 314 feet in right field, you hit a ball 410 feet, that ball is 3 rows deep, right? So, thinking of it from the directional standpoint, you need to understand what goes into being a good hitter. It's not just about exit velocity. And I know that sounds crazy to say as an analytics guy, but, baseball has evolved from just, okay, here's a really good Savant page. And then the other key metric here is sweet spot percentage. And I've started to really use this metric a lot. I think it's a really valuable tool for us to understand, really what goes into a hitter's approach. And Cody Bellinger at 37.6%, well above that major league average. He's really good at finding, batted ball contact that goes between 8 and 32 degrees, which is excellent. That means you're getting those lower fly balls that typically travel a far way, or a bunch of line drives. And so those are going to go for hits often, even if he doesn't hit the ball particularly hard. So like an 80 mile per hour batted ball hit at 10 or 11 degrees is going to go for a base hit more often than like a 100 mile per hour batted ball that's hit straight to center field. Because think about it like this: if you hit a fly ball to center field, if it's not 420 plus feet, that ball might get caught, especially in Yankee Stadium. Center field is deep, right? People think of Yankee Stadium as a hitter's ballpark. Center field is not a hitter-friendly ballpark for the Yankees. So, all things considered, I think what Cody Bellinger brings to the table in terms of his the way he's bat fitted, the way he pulls his fly balls, I think it'll work really well in Yankee Stadium. add on top of that he's a plus defensive center fielder. So you imagine that translates well to left field. Is going to be 28 in August. This is a guy you can extend. I know you hinted at this a little bit. And with a 353 OBP, this is a guy who could lead off for the New York Yankees, right? So, just kind of looking at what the Yankees need. They don't have a stable leadoff hitter. Right now, Glaber's leading off. Volpe's had some reps at leadoff, but there's no consistent guy there. He's young. He gives you an alternative option if you don't get Bader back on a team-friendly deal in free agency. Doesn't strike out a lot, has put up some decent power numbers, and overall the fit is just really good for Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that he definitely makes sense. I mean, the short right porch in Yankee Stadium definitely suggests he would dominate there. I mean, he's 27 years old. The guy's still in his prime. He's a former MVP. Hitting 298 with a 353 OBP, 125 WRC plus. This is his best WRC plus since 2019, and the third highest in his career. This is a player that has traditionally been a very good defensive asset as well. Now, my question for you, Ryan, is actually kind of his alignment defensively. He's only played about 315 innings in left field in his career. If you trade for Cody Bellinger, is he starting in left field every day? Because you're not moving Harrison Bader, and Aaron Judge is playing in right field. Maybe you put Bellinger in right until Judge gets back. But how do you think that alignment situates? Because he doesn't have the most experience there. But again, I wouldn't be overly worried because he's a very good defensive player. I feel like he would translate just fine.
Yeah, no, he would be he's an excellent athlete, right? So you kind of imagine that the fit is going to be there. Obviously, we also forget that left field in other ballparks can typically be an easy place to play, right? Let's think Houston, Fenway, right? You don't really put, you put Giancarlo Stanton in left field when you play in Fenway, or you put him in left field when you play in Minute Maid. So there are certain ballparks that play a lot easier in left field than they do in right field. I'm not 100% sure if Dodger Stadium's like that, but I know traditionally speaking, you Judge, you imagine as a right fielder, not a left fielder, just because, the way his arm plays, all that stuff. So, I know Bellinger's played more center field as the years have gone on, but I'm confident he can translate into left field. He also has first base versatility. I think he has +1 OAA there. So, if you have issues with Rizzo's back or whatever it may be, you have an insurance policy there that isn't DJ LeMahieu. And, your backup first baseman being DJ LeMahieu isn't great. He's really struggling this year. So, I really do think that the positional versatility he brings would be great. And I think that this is a guy worth trading for.
Yeah, I mean, now the question is, what do the Cubs want in return? Because you're getting a guy that's essentially a rental. You're paying maybe the remainder of his salary. Maybe the Cubs take it on. And, you don't want to give up substantial pieces. You're not giving up Will Warren. You're not giving up Oswald Peraza. That's not who you're giving up for Cody Bellinger because, again, he's a rental. You're getting him for half a season, and there's a possibility that he leaves. Now, we know Cody Bellinger wants to be a Yankee. We know he loves the Yankees. This is a quote that he said 2 days ago. The Yankees obviously mean a lot to our family. He won my dad, Clay Bellinger, won a few championships here, a role player and pretty good player. It was obviously all in the old stadium, but still feels the same. He loves the Yankees. He wants to be a Yankee. If the Yankees were willing to extend him, I think he would accept it. Now, the question is, what are you willing to give up in return to the Cubs to get a player that you might be able to sign in free agency anyway? Right? That's the thing, Ryan. That's the conversation to have. Is Cody Bellinger going to make this team a championship caliber team? No, it's objectively not true. It's false. It's push that logic aside. The only way the Yankees are winning a championship is if the guys currently on the roster step it the hell up and start playing like they're paid, which is $25+ million. Stanton's starting to pick it up. DJ at $15 million, not carrying his weight, unfortunately. Donaldson at $21 million, 25. You include the luxury tax threshold. It's just not enough. If those guys don't turn it around, the Yankees don't stand a chance. So I'd argue this: why not save your prospects and just sign Cody Bellinger as a free agent and not go down the path of this guy's going to change everything for us. This is going to be the difference maker. Do you think there's a logic there to kind of have about just going out and trying to get him in free agency and him declining his option, trying to get a long-term deal and signing with the Yankees and not giving up any of your prospects? Maybe there's an avenue there that the Yankees would prefer to go on. Yeah.
So the way I view it is that, obviously the counter argument that I think works really well here is, he is not the final piece, but I think this deadline doesn't have a single final piece. I know technically, people are going to say, well, what about Juan Soto? But let's be real here. I don't think the Yankees are trading for Juan Soto, and I don't know if the Padres are trading Juan Soto. So I'm assuming that that's not someone that's realistic. So I'm not counting him in this, thought process of there's not one individual guy who makes you a championship, the best team in the AL. But, the Rays are falling a little bit. The Orioles, not that they're beatable. I mean, they are beatable, but not that they're, worse than the Yankees, but I think they're beatable. The Rangers, have shown signs of slowing down. The Astros, they aren't like bad or anything this year, but they aren't as good as they've been in years past. Actually, all the disrespect to the AL Central. I don't like the AL Central. The Minnesota Twins are not good at baseball. The Cleveland Guardians are not good at baseball. The Toronto Blue Jays have kind of like just been like the Yankees all year. They're pretty talented, but they just don't play to their level. Right? Like they got no hit by the Tigers yesterday, which, sure, that like happened, I guess. I mean, the Yankees are now back in a playoff spot, and if they win today, they'll be in a playoff spot, entering the All-Star break. But the way I view it is like if you get the right pieces, is Cody Bellinger part of the puzzle? I think he can be part of a championship puzzle. I don't think he's the only piece that you should get, but could the Yankees trade some Rule 5 guys, right? Like, I know that this is going to be a painful example to bring up, but the Yankees traded Ezekiel Duran for Joey Gallo. And I'm not using this to say, oh my God, Brian Cashman, I hate him so much, but more so in a sense of he was Rule 5 eligible. The Yankees had the choice to trade him for Joey Gallo or lose him for nothing. And they chose to trade him for Joey Gallo. Now, you can say Joey Gallo sucks, this and that, but objectively speaking, the right process is trade him for Joey Gallo, not lose him for nothing. So you have guys like Juan Corella, he's going to be Rule 5 eligible. Would you rather lose him for nothing or trade him? I'd say trade him. Matt Sawyer is Rule 5 eligible. Would you rather lose him for nothing or trade him? I'd say trade him. Yoendrys Gomez is on the 40-man roster. He might get DFA'd if he sticks on that 40-man roster. I don't know how much longer the Yankees can keep him on there with the amount of guys they're going to have to protect. Do you keep him on the roster? Or do you potentially, put him on waivers and maybe lose him? I say just trade him. Really, the thing you're looking at here is, how many prospects can you hoard without getting them plucked off, right? Garrett Whitlock was plucked off the Yankees roster in the Rule 5 draft. That's a painful loss because he's been a pretty good reliever with the Red Sox. I know he's had some injury issues, but I feel like if he was a Yankee, he would have just stayed in the bullpen and he would have been an excellent reliever for us. The way I view it is the Yankees have a surplus of prospects that they can't protect and that are lottery tickets. And I think that that's always a good fit. I think that's what makes the Yankees super active at the deadline. And at the end of the day, do you want the Yankees who are currently in a playoff spot to get better? Yes. And if this team goes on a run, like we're 6 games back in the loss column of the division, win today and the Rays lose, and you're 5 games back in the loss column of the division, that sounds doable with 71 games left, right? So, if you add a guy like Cody Bellinger, it sucks that we didn't take advantage of that 7-game losing streak. It sucks, and I'm not going to get over that. But there are untouchables, obviously. You mentioned Peraza. Dominguez, obviously. I'd put Pereira and Wells on there. I'd leave Warren on that untouchable list as well. Chase Hampton, I don't want to trade Chase Hampton for a rental, and I feel the same way about Drew Thorpe. Spencer Jones as well is probably on that list. But once you get past really those top 8 guys, you feel like anyone else on that list is tradable. That includes even a guy like Clayton Beater. Like, would you move Clayton Beater in a one-on-one for Cody Bellinger? I'd say yes. He's 24, so you're gonna kind of have to figure out what he is in the next year or so. Not even the next 2 years, probably in the next year. So that's the way I view it. Maybe Yankee fans feel differently, but as long as you're in a playoff spot, you should always try to contend. You should always do what it takes, because baseball's a high variance sport. This isn't the NBA where, like, if you're the 7th seed, you're probably getting bounced in the first round, or even the NFL. Like, I think you can say, as someone who's the Giants expert, right? I think you and I can agree the Giants were not beating the Kansas City Chiefs in a playoff game. That was never going to happen. Can the Yankees beat the Tampa Bay Rays in a playoff series? Absolutely. Can they beat the Texas Rangers? Absolutely. Baltimore Orioles? Absolutely. Houston Astros? Yes, I think they can. And that's really all that matters. And that's that. If you can say that you can do that, you should buy. And that's the way I view it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're willing to give up some decent quality prospects for him, and you see this team as in your Brian Cashman, you have to make a move. The problem right now is I feel like we're being forced to. You know what I mean? I feel like he's backed into a corner, and he has really no choice but to try and upgrade this roster at this current moment. It's unfortunate because this team isn't good enough to win on itself by itself. We need help and reinforcements, as we always do every trade deadline. And that's the thing about good teams. You can get some good players that fuel the last missing links, but the Yankees have gaping holes across the roster. You know what I mean? It's not like we need a first baseman to get this team right, or where everyone else is performing. We just need this one position, or we need a left fielder, or we need this guy or that guy. We need a left fielder. We need a third baseman. We need first base is fine. We could use a more offensive catcher, but you're not going to go with that because most teams just kind of go the defensive route with catcher anyway. But you could use another starting pitcher. We have 3 major holes on this team right now, and we don't have Aaron Judge. So you could say there's multiple, maybe even more than 3, probably 4 or 5. It's unsustainable. You know what I mean? You can't have 4 or 5 major holes on the roster and win a championship. It's just not going to happen. And when Judge comes back, what version of Aaron Judge are we going to get? He's going to be hurt. He literally even said it's all about pain tolerance for him. but like pain tolerance means he's still injured. Like it means he's still in pain. Like that doesn't mean he's fully healthy. How well is he going to be able to perform when his toe is not fully healthy, where he has to load his power from the back foot, where he has to run and make athletic diving catches, he has to make big plays? Is he going to re-aggravate that injury? Like, can we really depend that the Yankees are going to get back Aaron Judge and he's going to pick up right where he left off? There's a really strong possibility that this affects him the rest of the season, that he's not that good when he gets back, because that toe injury, look what it's done to DJ LeMahieu. Look how bad he's been. I don't know if it's toe related or mental. But there's no guarantee that Judge is going to come back and just maintain a torn ligament in his right big toe and just like fight it off and be like an MVP level player. Are we really going to sit here and act like that's the possibility? Like, I mean, I guess it could happen, but it's unlikely that he returns to what he was doing before he got injured. So now you have to think to yourself, like, what is the real probability the Yankees can win a championship this year? I think it's much lower than it was last year. That's for sure. So are we really, like, do we need to go out and trade for guys right now? And we kind of feel, the thing is, if they don't trade for guys, we know that Cashman is basically waving the white flag on the season. You know what I mean? Like, if he doesn't go out and get somebody, we can basically sit here and say to ourselves, yeah, like they're punting this year. Like they're not gonna try and compete because they're not sure. Like they're not sure, and we're not sure, so they definitely wouldn't be. And I think that's kind of where we sit here right now, is saying to ourselves, like, I think they're going to make a move because Cashman's backed into a corner. But if he doesn't, it's going to say a lot about the team right now. It's going to say a lot about their faith in Judge coming back and making an impact and whatever it might be. So we're going to see guys here in a couple weeks. We got about 3 weeks before they got to make some big decisions on this roster, where they're going to make upgrades, what's going to happen. But I'm always happy to hear your perspectives and thoughts below in the YouTube comments. And as always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.